It needs to be tilted down a bit. Yeah, that's good. Let me see if what's her name knows the. I don't think she would. She would know Facebook. Um,
an educator, and an advocate for just about 20 years. And we've lived in Algonquian District for 16 years. I have had the opportunity to work with so many of our community members and neighbors, and I've had the opportunity to learn what it means to serve the Algonquian District. I'd like to bring us back together and focus on common ground and pragmatic solutions that serve the children in our public schools. I'm running because I recognize the impact that public schools had on my life. My grandparents were raised by sharecroppers in Georgia, and their public school education allowed them to become a pastor and a postmaster. My father is a public school teacher, and my mom is a nurse. And I personally love my public school experience. I moved from a town in Kentucky that's smaller than Potomac Falls High School. And when we moved to South Carolina, I was assigned to a school in a historically Black community. And having that opportunity really opened up my eyes and my heart and opened up the world to me. And I'm so grateful for having had that experience. When Paul and I decided to have children, we looked around in this region for schools that were excellent and for a community that was diverse, because we wanted our children to grow up as citizens of the world. And they have. In our Algonquian District schools, they have always had friends and classmates who are from all over the country and all over the nation. Their education experience has been all the richer because of that. I am running because I am so passionate about public schools, and I think they need to be protected. I would start with focusing on students. I believe that all of our decisions should be student-centered. We need to focus on making sure that all of our students are safe, seen, and respected in our public schools. As an educator, I know that the teachers are the very foundation of our public schools. We need to make sure that their salary and their working conditions are great, because that's our students' learning conditions. And finally, I just think it's very important that we come back together and focus on what's good for all of our students.
Hi, my name is Sri Amudunar. I can't hear myself. I don't know if you guys hear me, but I'm running for the Office of the Commissioner of Revenue in Loudoun County for the second time, and I've had a lot of learning in the last 4 years. So first of all, let me thank the hosts. I also want to say special thanks to the church, the Lutheran Church, because they allowed us to come in here at a very late time. And it's a special place for me because I was married in the Lutheran Church in Washington, D.C. So it's like I came home. My story is interesting. I'll talk to you guys about that afterwards. So let me point out the Loudoun County budget is $4.2 billion annually at this time. And 45% of the money comes from data centers, personal property tax, real estate tax, and all that. And our budget continues to grow. But the data centers will not grow at that rate. That means the difference between what the data centers bring you and the budget as it grows will continue to change. And we are going to have to pay the difference on an ongoing basis. Our budget back in '92 was like $260 million, $230 million with 4.2. It's going to keep going up, and we have to be able to fix that. 89% of these assessments come from personal property and real estate taxes, and 11% comes from economic activity. If we can increase the economic activity in Loudoun County that contributes to the budget, then it is possible for us to offset that change and continue to flatten the amount of money that we're going to continue to use. I mean, you got interest going up, you have real estate going up. It's going to be stressful. And they're going to look at real estate property, to take money, and that comes from your property, right? That's your big event. It's just going to come from there. I think that on doing what's what's given as a task for them in the Constitution. What's written in the Constitution for elected officers to do is the minimum they're supposed to do. It's not the maximum. They have to go beyond the rules because elected officers are the leaders. They're elected to do something. They're not hired. When people are hired, when they go beyond their roles, they can be fired. But when people are elected, they are elected to shape the system that we work in, and that is very important. Our school budget is about 60% of the $4.2 billion. We spend $3 billion every year, and when the kids get up and they go away, we lose all that money. We need to keep the kids over here. We need to build the community because only when the kids come back, you build a community, and communities make values and can become laws. It's not the other way around. We need kids to stay here.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Wertz. I'm the Commissioner of Revenue here in Loudoun County. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the NAACP Loudoun chapter for allowing me to be here tonight. You notice I didn't have a name tag on the table because they weren't expecting me to be here, but I heard they were having a get together, so I figured I'd show up since voters were going to be here. As Commissioner of the Revenue, I often tell people that I serve you every year, whether you want it or not. I'm here to ask you to hire me for 4 more years. You heard my opponent speak just before me. Unfortunately, I'm not sure he understands exactly what the job of Commissioner of the Revenue is. As a constitutional officer, your duties are mandated by local ordinance and the Code of Virginia. And you can play a role in shaping the character of the county by participating in economic development efforts where businesses are contemplating relocating to the county. As I have during my career in the 90s, I was a member of the economic development team that was recognized by Site Selection magazine as the economic development team of the year. When Telos was contemplating locating here, I'm the one who visited them in Herndon. When Raytheon was considering consolidating operations here in Loudoun County with hundreds of thousands of square feet of commercial space, I was part of the economic development team in Loudoun County that was recognized by the Board of Supervisors when they finally made that decision to locate here. So, tell you a little bit about the job. I can't do it alone. I lead a professional staff of 90, and I administer an office budget of $11 million. I'm responsible for the top 3 locally administered taxes here in the county. So we assess real estate, your vehicles, business taxes. So if you own a car, if you own real estate, if you have a business in the county, you touch folks in my office usually on an annual basis, and you know about the quality of service that's provided by my office. So to get to the heart of the matter, why am I running? I'm running for the same reason that I ran the first time. It's because that's how you get the job. The Commissioner of Revenue is, it's a complicated position. You are responsible for $2 billion in revenue that the county allocates to pay for the services that are provided here. We interact with some of the biggest businesses in the world on a daily basis. So it's important that you know how to do the job. I learned about the job because I worked in the office for 11 years before I ran the first time. The reason I'm running for the job is because I've got the experience and the knowledge. And most people here in the county know about the quality of the service that they get from my office on a daily basis. And I hope that you will support me for another 4 years. Thank you.
In my dreams, I'm tall. And I appreciate the comments that were just made, basically talking about understanding the jobs. I'll tell you this, I understand the job of the Commonwealth attorneys because of this reason. The first thing that you do, your job role is to show up. I show up on a regular basis, not only in the office where I have a chair, an office, a computer, and people to work with, but I show up in the community each and every day because I serve our community. Back in 2017, I remember picking up the local paper and seeing an article in there where there was a case that came out from our circuit courts where this man stole tires in Ashburn from 6 cars. He stole 24 tires to be able to support a drug addiction that he had. The prosecutor's office charged him with 18 felonies, brought the case before a jury, and the jury found him guilty of the 18 felonies because he committed those offenses. The Commonwealth then argued as to what should happen, and what they did is they brought back his history and talked about he has a history of convictions for drugs, theft, drugs, theft, drugs, theft. You repeated that? Drugs, theft, and told the jury that if you don't do something to stop this, he will never stop. The jury came back and recommended 127 years for somebody who stole tires. These are some things you'll find out about me. I'm a huge Costco fan. The most expensive tires at Costco are maybe $600, $700, $800. So we're talking about somebody who stole maybe about maybe about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of goods. And he was being sentenced or recommended to be sentenced for 127 years. The judge didn't sentence him to 127 years, nor did the judge sentence him to the the sentencing guideline recommendation of 2 to 3 years, but gave him 17 years to serve. I've been a lawyer for 30 years. We've had murderers not get 16, 17 years because of the facts. And when I looked at that, I said, is from a judicious aspect, that is not the best outcome for my community because of this reason. The cheapest place that you send somebody to incarcerate them or imprison them is the Department of Corrections at $25,000 a year. Unlike what lawyers say, I am a math major. I do know math. 17 times 25,000 is $425,000 in taxpayer money that was going to put somebody in a cage for something that was not necessarily going to change what happened. And when that person returns to 17 years, he's coming back to our community. I took this job because I didn't need a job. I took this job to do the job. So that is the thing that I say to you, is that we will continue to be able to provide for our community the following: smart on crime decisions, not just doing the job to get the statistics or the outcomes that might sound good, but it is to do the job that best serves our community. I'm Buda Bibarai, and I'm asking for you to support me as your next Commonwealth attorney. Thank you.
There we go. All right, good evening, everybody. We can do a little bit better than that. Knock it up a little bit. Good evening, everybody. There we go. My name is Karan Sangers, current Sterling District Supervisor. Currently serving my 2nd term, running for a 3rd term in office. What we've done so far, just quickly give you the hit list. We renovated the Sterling Community Center, renovated and got a new rescue station. We just implemented street lights on Sterling Boulevard. We have got funding for the bridge over at Sterling Boulevard and the WND Trail that we've talked about for decades here in Sterling. The reason why I decided to run again is to continue on that path of rebuilding and making Sterling better in Loudoun County. Just this past year, finally, LCPS voted to not just renovate, but rebuild Parkview, and thank you to the Parkview region. So even though that's going to fall on LCPS for the most part, I pledge to work with the LCPS and their stakeholders to make sure this project for Parkview is completed as timely as possible, because we know this is long overdue. Another thing that I pride myself on and will continue to do is constituent services. By helping residents with the various needs and their issues throughout the county, throughout the community and the county, and making sure we plug them in with the right stakeholders, be it General Assembly members, congressional members, and other organizations to help them in their daily lives and their families. Another thing we're going to pledge to do and continue to do is work to get funding for our schools from Richmond. Because recently there was a study that was done that was sponsored by the folks down in Richmond, and it said we are falling short compared to our neighbors in North Carolina, Maryland, DC, and West Virginia. Now, I like West Virginia, they're wild and wonderful. But when we're falling in West Virginia on our funding, there's a problem. So I pledge to continue to work with our Richmond delegation and other folks down in other areas in Richmond to make sure we read on attainable housing here in Loudoun, to make sure everybody has a chance at home ownership and can live decently in the area that they love and work. Because it's hard. So, and also make sure that the infrastructure is in place for any new housing that is built. Also, I'll continue to work to diversify our local economy. This is a great place. We just heard about some of the great businesses that come and will continue to attract new and exciting businesses into our area. And also, lastly, we'll make sure to hold our data centers their feet to the fire to make sure our data centers on the right locations. So that's what I'll continue to do for my third term. Thank you.
I would like to thank, first of all, Community Lutheran Church for hosting us on this at the last minute. That's wonderfully generous of all of you. And a huge thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Loudoun NAACP for having this event and giving us this opportunity to speak to voters. I thank all the candidates for running, because this is incredibly difficult. And thank all of you for being here, for taking time out of your busy lives to come and talk to us and tell us what your issues and concerns are. Mike Donahue, and I'm running for Loudoun County School Board for the at-large seat. I moved to Leesburg in around 2014 with my husband, who was born and raised in this area. I'm the proud parent of 2 elementary school students in LCPS. I'm an attorney, I'm a community activist, and I am a fierce advocate for public education. I am running because I know and believe in the life-changing opportunities that an excellent education provides. And I believe every student in our county deserves and is entitled to have real access to those opportunities. I'm not from Virginia originally. I grew up in a rural, conservative, poor area in the Midwest. I went to public schools from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, and I got a great education. I earned an academic scholarship that allowed me to attend college here in Virginia. And then after that, I went on to attain my dream of going to law school, where I wanted to become a prosecutor. And I did that because I wanted to serve my government. I wanted to help improve and safeguard my community. And for me, that was the way to do it. And I did. I was a prosecutor for 6.5 years. And since moving to Loudoun in 2014, I continue to be a government attorney with a focus on public safety. I'm not a politician. I've never worked in LCPS or any other school system. I've never worked for the school board or any school board. But I care deeply about my kids and all the kids. My kids have had a lot of opportunities and support in our public schools, and I want to make sure that every child in our county gets the same access and the same support and the same opportunities as mine. My issues are school safety, number 1. Every student needs to feel welcome and included in our schools, and they need to feel physically, mentally, and emotionally safe and secure. Because if our students don't feel safe, they cannot learn. And that goes for our staff too. Supporting teachers is my second priority, and my third priority is changing the conversation so we get back to focusing on the best interests of our students, and we have listening to welcoming opinions and discussions.
United students. So I have a lot of work with unions. I've represented General Dynamics with all of our labor union plan. They've got about $12 billion that they manage retirement benefits for 100,000 members and their dependents. General Dynamics, we had about 250,000 employees and dependents that we managed. I have my law degree, I think I mentioned that, CPA. I have an advanced law degree. I've taught for 20 years. I also teach at WashU in St. Louis on an advanced tax program there as well. In 2016, President Obama asked me to take a role on the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation Advisory Committee. I served in that role under President Obama, President Trump, and President Biden. When I started, they owed $1. They had 90 cents for every dollar they owed. When I left, they had $1.20 in the bank for every dollar they owed. Their investment portfolio was about 87% fixed income, so it's very representative to what we have at Loudoun County. And I appreciate your support and look forward to continuing the conversation. And thank you again.
Hi there, good evening, everyone. So I'm Craig Buckley. We were just kind of joking about that. I'm a nice guy to let him go. So I have the pleasure of being the Democratic candidate for Sheriff of Loudoun County. 3.5 years I've been blessed to live in and raise a family in Loudoun County. I settled here because I didn't have a choice. My wife was raised in Loudoun County. And she convinced me that this was the best community to raise our family. So I was a stay-at-home mom until the last of our 3 sons reached 4th grade. And then she chose to work for our public schools. Being a public servant is about feeling fulfilled in giving back to the country and community, not just about recognition. I began my career as a sworn law enforcement officer in August 1994. And prior to that, I was working as a 911 dispatcher, same profession my wife did when we met. Through the course of my career, I've had the ability to go from being a dispatcher to becoming a police officer and rising through the ranks, holding several positions of responsibility until retiring as a chief of police. Along the way, I gained significant experience as a patrol officer, detective, crisis negotiator, first line supervisor, and division commander. I'm a graduate of the Senior Management Institute for Policing and the FBI National Academy. Additionally, I hold degrees and certifications from the University of Richmond, George Mason University, and George Washington University. Once elected, I plan to restore public trust in our sheriff's office through improved transparency, accountability, and collaboration among all county and community-based agencies. I want to be clear that the accountability, that refers to me being held accountable by you, as well as being held accountable by the women and men of our sheriff's office. Through transparency and the implementation of a Sheriff's Advisory Council, you will know if I'm living up to my pledge to you and to my oath of office. The women and men of the Sheriff's Office will be encouraged to engage with me through an employee relations committee, as well as one-on-one if necessary, to let me know if I'm failing them in support of their mission to serve you. I'm running to be sheriff because for me, there's no greater responsibility nor honor than to serve our community. I'm a cop running to be a cop. My professional fulfillment begins and ends with being your sheriff. The most important internal step I must take once elected will be to have independent audits of our high liability, high risk operations. First and foremost, this will include SWAT operations and our K-9 program. Both of these operations have attached to them nationally recognized minimum training standards, and it is imperative that we are properly outfitting, educating, and training our deputies assigned to these vital tasks. Not doing so, it only sets them up for failure and further erodes morale in the agency and community trust. not to mention the potential for several more multi-million-dollar lawsuits. Additionally, I'll be joining the Northern Virginia Critical Incident Response Team and signing the National 30 by 30 Pledge to improve diversity among our ranks and create a work environment more conducive to working parents. This campaign for Sheriff of Loudoun County boils down to one thing. I'm committed to building trust and working collaboratively with all of our county departments and agencies. Your role is to decide who you trust to protect you, protect your constitutional rights, and be a unifier for our county, not a facilitator of division.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Sam Croys. I'm an independent candidate for chairman of the Board of Supervisors. And like Commissioner Wirtz, I'm an uninvited guest tonight. From what I hear, the chairman kind of focus on that will be a couple sessions from now. So I'll look forward to seeing folks then and talking more then. I won't be on the panel tonight. But the league and the NAACP was kind enough to let me talk to you all tonight. So I appreciate that. And I also want to thank them for putting on this whole thing. This is really great. Love to see folks out here. Like I said, I'm running as an independent candidate, and I'm glad to hear all these folks tonight talking about finding common ground, and I'm not hearing a lot of too much partisanship, and that's great to hear. But I just wonder how they'll be able to live up to that when they are running and getting elected based on being Republicans and Democrats, and a lot of people vote on national issues. So that's just hard to serve that way when that's not how you run and not how you get elected. So I think it's really important to run as an independent, get elected that way so that you can serve that way. I am a farmer from Lovettsville, and the Board of Supervisors has been doing a lot of things that are bad for farms. Both parties are doing it, so I kind of came to see that the parties were just fighting all the time about party stuff, which is bad because it hits neighbors against neighbors. But the worst part is that while there's all this fighting, they're kind of working together to do things over here, which was bad for the farming. So that's how I came to see, neither party is going to do what's right for farmers. I'm sure you guys aren't concerned that much about farm issues, but whatever your issues are, it's probably the same core problem. And I would be happy to hear about it and figure out what those issues are, and it probably ties into that. But if not, I'm still interested in figuring out how to solve it in any way I can. So thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you at future sessions and being on the panel at one of the future ones. I won't be on the panel tonight, but I'll be around, so hope to talk to you. Thank you.
Okay, our next order of business is going to be questions that we have gathered from for a forum that was held during a primary season. So I'm going to start with that. And I think we need to shorten it from 3 minutes to 1. So be thinking when I announce the questions about how you want to respond. Okay, number 1. How will you begin to heal the deep divisions within the Loudoun community and bring us back together? So we're going to start on the right this time and go to the left.
Okay, well, I'll just make it short because I kind of already addressed that. So electing independent people is really important. And just with the time that I have, the way that I think it's best to do that is to adopt ranked choice voting. Back in 2020, the General Assembly and Governor that passed a law that allowed ranked choice voting for boards of supervisors and city councils, which we don't have any city councils in Loudoun. So the only group that can have ranked choice voting is Board of Supervisors. I was hoping they would do that. but it's getting so close to election time, it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen, but I would do that and would also hope to get it for school board and all the other offices where it's not available now, and I would try to make that happen. And all these candidates are really great, but the only thing that'd be better would be to have even more and to have ranked choice voting to choose between them. Thank you.
From my perspective, a lot of the divisions that occur within our county, at least for the agency I'm running for, sheriff, is a lack of trust in some of our operations and things that we do. And part of that is going to be through transparency and accountability, getting more collaboration from the community. I want the community in there with me all the time, just so that they have an input. If people are, I'll put it this way. Law enforcement, we sit around a table. I'm a professional, we have other professionals there. We create policies that are in our best interest, and we understand what we want to get to. Problem is, what we do, a lot of times don't take into consideration is how it impacts the community we actually serve. And that's why a lot of times we miss that mark. And in this county, we have a very diverse county. 1 in 4 of our residents are non-US born. And so having a diverse group in an advisory council that is made up of folks that are sent to us from the Board of Supervisors as well as other community leaders, I think will do a lot